Hello, friends. Okay. What happened today? We had an experience.
We got to go on an Amish buggy ride.
Yes. So we've made friends with family. The gentleman's name is Chester. And that's where we go every week to get our milk, cream, butter. And he was kind enough to say that he would take us all out on a buggy. The preamble to this is that when we're going out there...
What do we see on the way, Liliana?
Buggies.
How many?
Lots. And we see horses out in the field. So we just get extra stuff. Oh, yeah.
I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's very magical.
Now, we're not going to do video footage of the Amish out of respect for their ways, but we will share it as we would share with you around a campfire and tell you what this experience was like, because it was more than just a fun time. It was actually a great learning experience for us as well. But first of all, just what was it like?
It was just so fun. I can't describe it. It was also cozy.
Cozy.
It was warm in the back, and they had these big, huge blankets so we all just snuggled up in back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they had these big, huge blankets. They called them robes that went over us, which were very heavy and warm.
Daddy, you were in the front.
Yeah. And these things are well designed. The seats can slide forward and backward, and it's steel rimmed tires. They're pretty thin, and they're designed for in the winter. They can basically all snap shut.
Or in the rain, they have a little thing in the front that comes up so you can just see out as you're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful. He waited until we got there and then pulled out the buggy, and then we went to the barn with him and he showed us how to put the collar on and the harness on, and then he took Rose was her name, this beautiful off the track thoroughbred who'd been trained to pull.
It's funny because her name was Rose, because Mira has a figurine horse named Rose.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
And then what? He took Rose up to the buggy and showed us how you attach the buggy to the horse. It was just really, really neat. And of course, he is a leather worker by trade. So he had made a lot of the parts of the harness. He actually can make all the parts of harnesses, but in this case, he had just made certain parts of it. And it was beautiful, beautiful craftsmanship.
Now, a superficial thing I learned that was kind of interesting is that they have a brake, and you just press as if you were in a car on the brake, and then it has a pedal or a pad that goes against the wheel and slows it down. So on the downhills, the horse doesn't really have to do much at all. If the person works the brake correctly, the horse can just walk or trot without having to bear any weight forward on the horse, and certainly without having to pull the horse, the buggy at all. Any other just things about the horse or the experience that were fun for you? Then we'll go deeper.
It was just so fun.
What I appreciated is that it was slow.
Yeah.
And right now, where we live, the colors are spectacular. And so we went down the road into this valley, along this ravine, and all the different trees were turning color everywhere, and there were cows and horses out to pasture along the stream. It was very pastoral and very idyllic.
It really was. And Chester spoke to us about going slow. And this is something you've heard from us before. But boy, flyby, we don't usually get flybys.
Yeah, it's odd.
All right, we were just letting that plane fly over. So as I was saying, you've heard from us before about those benefits of slowing down. But here, we were with someone whose whole culture moves much, much slower. I mean, the average speed that they travel on the roads is probably 12 miles per hour. And for most of us, it's 55, 65. And that is just one example out of an entire lifestyle that is just slower paced. But it was very interesting for me to hear from him he didn't critique. So we're the English. We learned that. So our culture is called the English, and he didn't critique, but he said, almost as if he had compassion for us, that our culture seems to be moving so fast. But soon after, he turned it around and started talking about how his life, the places in his life that he went too fast. And it contrasted with the kind of attitude we see in the media these days, which is so blaming and finger pointing. But for him, he could look out and see something in another culture that could be changed, possibly for the better, but he was just as quick to look at himself and where he had the same faults.
It was really interesting to be with him. He was very present with us. He shared a lot of stories. He showed us where his land was. At one point, a leaf fell from a tree and it fell into the carriage right in front of him. And he just picked it up and he just looked at it and he just held it as we were walking along talking. And I remember him saying, we have this one life to live. We should enjoy it. We should slow down and take the time to really enjoy it. And he really said, I really live a very happy life. And he talked about being able to connect with his family, his siblings, and how they all help each other out, how they each go to a different person's house. They pick a day, and they all go harvest wood for that family. And then the next day that they get together, they go someplace else, and they all harvest wood for that family, so that each one of their family members has enough wood for the whole winter. And he talked about not just how convenient it is to have everybody help, but how special it is to have all the family members come together to be with each other, to share stories, to talk about things that they enjoy. I just felt really inspired by him.
Yeah, and if you know much about the Amish, we could of course point fingers at them and criticize ways that their life maybe is not the most enlightened or whatever. But boy, I know that I felt like I learned a lot today. That moment when that leaf came down was extremely powerful for me. I was sitting right next to him, and first of all, just that a leaf could just softly tumble down and land on the rain fly in front of us as we were trotting up the road. And it was as if nature was saying, this is a slower way. And from normal people, from English, I kind of expected him to just brush it off. And that he took the time to hold it, to look at it, to be there with that piece of nature that had come into our lives so slowly and elegantly was very indicative of, again, a culture living within our culture that has a completely different way of living and a completely different pace of life.
Yeah, it was neat to hear him towards the very end. He said, I'll tell you what makes me the happiest of all. He said, time in nature. There's nothing better in all the world than to sit someplace and have a red squirrel come up to you, or a bird land on your hat, or to see a deer walking close by. And then he said again, there is nothing that means more to me in the whole world. And I thought, wow, I want to be like that, because I love nature and I love the idea of slowing down, but how often do I really, really, really do it? And so I think we'd love to hear from all of you, just where you are going too fast, how you slow down, and what's really meaningful to you in your life.
You girls want to get a buggy and a horse?
Yeah.
He said there are actually some English folk that once were doing that in this area, and it has put a buggy into our minds.
Oh, I've always had a buggy in my mind.
Yeah, you have, haven't you?
This is very true.
A buggy.
Well, so much love to all of you. We can't wait to talk with you in the comments and hear your thoughts. And wow, just sending so much love.
Thanks for sharing this adventure with us.